press Go Live button and need to verify on YouTube. Folks, feel free to verify as well.
It's not there yet.
Not there yet. Coming. Yeah, it says we're waiting for VictoriaMetrics. Which is kind of strange because, oh no, I see myself. That's good.
Okay, so looks like we are live.
Are my slides uploaded now? It says they're processing in the background.
Artem should be able to see those slides.
Yes, I can see them.
Okay. Okay, so welcome everyone to our Q3 meetup in 2024. As usual, we start with a small warm-up, like 5 minutes before the first slide deck. You can find the agenda in the bottom, in the description of this YouTube stream. Yeah, so today, what we will have today, we will have updates on the VictoriaMetrics products, like VictoriaMetrics itself, data sources, operator, etc. We will have updates on the VictoriaLogs. We will have updates on VictoriaMetrics in the cloud. We will have updates on anomaly detection. And also, what is super cool, we will have 2 user stories, one from our guest, Roma Novikov, about VictoriaMetrics, and another story from Mathias Palmersheim. Yeah, so watch till the end to watch the user stories. Okay. We also usually start to warming up from introducing ourselves and telling something about weather or location. So my name is Roman, and I'm currently in Poland. It's pretty chilly right now, about 12 degrees or something like that, but otherwise weather is fine. I like it much better than hot weather.
Let me be the next one. I'm in the same place where Roman is. It's up to the person about the weather. Current one, I wish it, like, if it's slightly warmer, that would be really nice. And next week should be exactly like this, and I'm waiting for it. But yeah, raining, about 12 Celsius. It's nice, but for me, 15, 17, 20, much more comfortable. JJ?
Let me continue then.
Okay, Fred.
If we are continuing by moving from Poland to other countries, so I'm also residing in Poland, but in different city of Wrocław. And here we have 50 shades of gray and also temperature like +7 or +10. So I really like this weather when I'm inside. So hope it will remain the same because we get rid of all the insects that we have. And it's a good time, golden autumn.
So it's more like you're a back-end developer than front-end developer. Okay.
Yeah.
Bad joke, sorry.
I'm in Iowa, and it's like the 2 weeks of the year where it's not too hot or too cold. It goes from being like up to 40 C in the winter to like -20 C in the, or +40 C in the summer and -20 C in the winter. And then there's like 1 week in the spring and 1 week in the fall where it's like perfect. So we're in that week right now.
You better to take
forever.
Yeah, day offs.
I mean, aren't you my boss? So I get to take the day off after this?
Yeah, just a promotion. We have unlimited vacation policy, so it's up to you.
We can see one of your bosses in the background, at least his tail.
I thought she was our junior chaos engineer.
breaks things.
Yeah.
And I'm JJ, or Jean-Jérôme. I'm based in Dublin, Ireland, so it's 50 shades of green over here. And it's always more or less the same temperature throughout the year, which is around 15 degrees, but which is the case kind of today. But it's a lovely day today, nice and sunny.
Stability is great.
Yeah, it's a bit too stable. It would be nice if we had a few more fluctuations throughout the year, as in, you know, a summer and a winter. But we tend to just stay, you know, middle ground all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, hello, I'm in Paris right now, and there is a weather is similar to Poland, I think. There's around 10 or from 10 to 15 degrees. And there is no rain, but it is cloudy all the day. Yeah, but this weather is good for walking around the center of Paris.
Okay, Roma, wanna go next?
Yeah. So I'm located in Lviv, Ukraine, and have almost the same temperatures you guys in Poland, like around 10, 12, rainy. So standard Lviv weather, which is known as kind of the rainiest city in Ukraine.
And the city with the tastiest food, I also think. So.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really arguable.
Okay. Okay, so do you think we can start?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, can you put my slide deck?
A moment, Roman, put in Slack and Fox. I will remove all except Roman from the stage.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm starting this meetup with the first slide deck about updates on VictoriaMetrics products related to metrics, and what's new in Q3 in 2024. Well, the first thing I would like to meet our new team members. We have 3 new team members who are working on engineering part of VictoriaMetrics, and I'm really happy that we got these guys to the team. So we have Jay Kun, who is not only a good engineer, but also you probably already met him on the Slack and on GitHub issues. So he's very helpful with answering with deep technical questions about VictoriaMetrics, about ecosystem without other observability solutions, because he has a lot of expertise on that. And he also contributes to VictoriaMetrics on the daily basis. Also welcome Fong, who is a deep technical Go expert. And you probably have seen some of his articles published about Go internals, or how we use Go inside of VictoriaMetrics, some tips and tricks and just explanatory articles about explaining how things work. And he's not so long with the team, but he already found a bug in Golang library for regular expressions. So yeah, welcome Fong as well. And third is Artem Fetishev. You probably already seen him on the GitHub as well. He already contributed, more than 10 of pull requests with various improvements and fixes in the VictoriaMetrics core. So yeah, welcome to the team. What happened in Q3? So last time we spoke, if I'm not mistaken, in June, the Q2 meetup. And since then, we had 3 major releases. I'm not counting the minor releases, but we have 3 major releases. The latest release was published yesterday. It is 1.104. And we also had updates on long-term support releases. So you can see the latest version of LTSs in the right column. And we also deprecated 193 LTS release because it's just time. We moved to 1.102 LTS, new line LTS release. You can find more information about LTS releases by using this link. So as was discussed on the previous meetup, we remain focused on bug fixing for VictoriaMetrics over adding new features. So we're trying to prioritize efforts of the team on improving usability and reliability instead of breaking things with new features. And this is what we did in this quarter, and we will discuss this a bit later. And our next goal is to start having bi-weekly releases. So to have a release every 2 weeks instead of releases that we have right now without like any schedule. They usually happen in once per month, but sometimes they are delayed. Sometimes there are more than one per month. It's better to have a stable schedule so you can be sure when new bug fix or new enhancement will arrive. So new features, what was added in the Q3? Well, yesterday we got support of multi-tenant queries in vmselect. You may see on this screen that I'm selecting a query and I'm grouping it, selecting a metric, and I'm grouping it by two new labels, VM account ID and VM project ID. And in response, I'm getting 2 time series, each of them having different label set for these tenant IDs. This is how it works right now. So you can configure vmselect to query data from multi-tenant endpoint, and you can use these 2 new labels right in the query filters. Just as any other time series selector, you can use the same features like regular expressions, using ors and ands, listing them in the queries. You can use them here to select tenants that you want to get data from. You can select many tenants. If you omit specifying these labels, you will get data from all the tenants that you have in the database. This also reflected in the tracing. So if you enable tracing, when you execute this query, you can see what exactly vmselect does. And here, for example, vmselect queries each tenant separately, concurrently, and then merges results and returns back to the user. To configure multi-tenancy, you need just to specify, instead of like before for querying data from specific tenant, you had to specify its ID in the URL, like select 0 or select 1 or select 1 semicolon 2 to specify project ID. Now you can put multi-tenant word instead of tenant ID, and it will automatically start querying tenants, all available tenants on the storage nodes. So on this example, I'm updating settings of vmui to start using multi-tenant URL by just putting this word multi-tenant instead of /0. And this is how I can get results from multiple tenants. You also can use features that we have for other queries for additional filtering, like extra filters and extra labels. So for example, if you have Grafana data source and you have like 1,000 tenants in your storage, but you only want to allow users to get access to 100 of those tenants, you can just add extra filters or extra label, which will limit the search query to this specific set of labels, tenants. Here on the screen, for example, I'm all the queries to multi-tenant endpoint will be additionally filtered by VM account ID, which starts from 10. And data from other tenants won't be available. You can specify this extra filter in the vmui get params or in Grafana data source extra params, and it will work like that. Okay, yeah, and thanks for Zahar for implementing this feature. He put a lot of effort into implementing it, into testing it. And thanks to Nikolai for being a good reviewer and spending a lot of time to make this pull request alive to merge it eventually. So thanks, guys, for implementing this. What else we get? We in 1.04 we also get OVH service discovery support, thanks to Jay-Kun, who added this pull request. If I'm not mistaken, he is also working on adding more service discovery services in the future. So thanks, Jay-Kun, for adding this. Other changes, I will not go through the changes that we have because we had 57 enhancements, but again, we mostly focused on the bug fixing and reliability improvements in this quarter. So during these 3 months, we had 6 security updates, 57 enhancements, and 60 bug fixes. So I recommend everyone who is using VictoriaMetrics to get newer versions of VictoriaMetrics, so you can get at least 6 security updates and other performance enhancements, etc. You can get the full list of the changes, of course, on our /changelog, and we're trying to document all important changes there. We also get updates to our dashboards and alerting rules. For example, we now have panels for stream aggregation on vmagent dashboard. We have alerting rules for stream aggregation. We have other alerting rules which can detect if VictoriaMetrics services are throttled by some limits, for example, etc. So updating those is also important for stability of your installations. And also there were many enhancements to vmui interface to make it better. And I like using vmui, for example, on daily basis. I'm testing all my things on vmui. Instead of Grafana, but yeah. So what else? For Grafana, we have 2 data sources, VictoriaLogs and VictoriaMetrics. Data sources, you can try them. They're available on the GitHub. Mostly the developers who are working on these data sources are Dmitry and Yuri. You can find them on GitHub as well and ask your questions or report bugs or enhancements, whatever. They also had plenty of updates during these 3 months. So if you didn't update those data sources for a while, I recommend to fetch the latest release and try it. There was a lot of work on the operator and on the Kubernetes stack in general for the last couple of months. There were improvements for service monitors, for granular tuning of alerting and recording rules. We also got vmmouse support, and in general there were like 3 major releases. And thanks to Andrij Vatyuk, to Nikolai, and to Haley for working on those. Upcoming changes, what we expect to get in the nearest future. Well, Jay-Kun is working on the add-in PuppetDB service discovery, which we already have draft pull request for, and I hope will be added soon to the VictoriaMetrics upstream. We also have almost finished support of LogsQL syntax in vmalert, which would mean that you can you will soon be able to use vmalert for making alerting and recording rules with VictoriaLogs data source, similarly to how you do this with VictoriaMetrics, but just using LogsQL instead of MetricsQL or ChromeQL. What else? Zahar also filed a pull request which supports HTTP2 client for Kubernetes Service Discovery, and this is a pretty major change because this reduces resource usage and the amount of connections established to Kubernetes API from vmagent significantly. You can check this PR and issue where users already tried it and reported the gains. So I'm also looking forward to merge it soon, probably maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. Also, we started working on automatic limit adjustments on the vmStorage nodes. So as you know, there is a notion of query complexity in VictoriaMetrics, which basically a set of limits which you can put on vmselect to prevent from serving excessive queries which select too many series or too many samples or just take too much time, etc. But mostly those limits are there to protect your database and your users from queries that consume too much resources or return too much data. And on vmStorage side, right now we're trying to implement this feature which would automatically detect what should be the limits for query processing. And this should be this automatic detection should protect vmStorages from excessive memory usage in far better way than just trying to pick up a number that you will set on vmselect. So there are 3 tickets for that. They are kind of connected, and I expect to start working on them in the upcoming weeks. And ideally, what we want to get is that you won't need to set those limits anymore in vmselect. You can just rely on what vmagent vmStorage was able to detect based on the available amount of resources that it has. Okay, yeah, that's mostly it. You can find all the changes that I covered by visiting these links. So we document all the changes via our changelog. You can find all the releases in our GitHub repos, and also you can play with latest versions of Grafana and of VictoriaMetrics and Grafana data source on our playgrounds. Play grafana.victoriametrics.com and play victoriametrics.com. That's it. Artem, can you reappear again?
Yeah, let me add Fred to the call and his presentation.
Yeah, 1 second. I wanted to add that one word that if you have any questions regarding what we are saying or showing, you can ask them directly in the YouTube chat or maybe in Slack or whatever, ping us, and we will try to answer them in the end or between the slides. Yeah.
Great. I also have questions right now. I will ask in chat. Fred, let me add your presentation and let me remove Roman and myself from the stage. 1, 2, 3, removed.
Hi guys, I hope you can see and hear me pretty well. Let me introduce myself. My name is Fred and I'm working for VictoriaMetrics Anomaly Detection. And starting from my tech, we are slowly moving from open source to enterprise. So VM Anomaly, which is our product for VictoriaMetrics Anomaly Detection, is a part of enterprise offering. So this topic will be mostly interesting for the guys who already use an enterprise or want to try it. But feel free to ask any questions if you have any. And today I'd like to share some updates that we have during Q3 of 2024 and where we finished our Q2 quarter and what we want to do in Q4. So here's a little agenda. I'll start with a snapshot of where we ended in Q2 of 24. Then we'll briefly cover what Q3 brought to the table. And after that, I'll share some plans for recent future for Q4 of 24. So what we end on, and maybe I need to take a step back for those who are not familiar with anomaly detection. VM Anomaly, which stands for VictoriaMetrics Anomaly Detection, is a part of enterprise, and it's a product suitable for discovering anomaly detection in time series data, which is obviously matrix data. So it works as a part of enterprise and allow you to detect different types and kinds of anomalies in your time series data. If you haven't already tried, just give it a try. I'll share the links on the last slide. And for those who are already familiar and using our product, I remind where we finished. So we finished on release 1.13.2, when during Q2 we introduced so-called presets mode, when we already predefined a major portion of config for users, and users need to specify only some important part like data source URLs, where to read or where to store the data. And we introduced node expert preset versus 1.0. And as a spoiler, we collect major feedback about its usability and about its improvements, and we're going to release the next version in Q4. So stay tuned. Also, as the problem with false positives arise in anomaly detection, when some tool detects that there is an anomaly, but actually it isn't. We'd like our users to be able to constrain such false positive rate with business-specific arguments like detection direction or minimum deviation from expected. All of these links are actual hyperlinks, so you can go and explore once you have the presentation. Also, we introduced disk dump mode to store anomaly detection models to release RAM drastically, and it will be helpful for resource-intensive setups. Also, we had a focus to introduce a new kind of models which are online, so they can be updated on streaming like data, and they do not need to query too much data from VictoriaMetrics, so you drastically reduce the amount of data needed to actually fit those models, and that led to optimized resource usage. Also, we improved our documentation, and we include additional pages such as frequently asked questions or quick start, also a new preset page. And we started from H1 2024, we started our product updates blog posts. So expect soon our Q3 blog post on product updates with more examples of how they help our users. And what was brought by Q3, we made a couple of releases, and as Roman said, we were mostly focusing on making all the changes backward compatible and on bug fixing and on unlocking additional corner cases that our user requests us to do. One of these were to overcome the limit that exceeds on server side, like search max points per time series, so our users are able to query longer queries from a VM anomaly side. For example, that's useful for customers that are users of VictoriaMetrics and they can't really change the parameters of the server. Also, we add per query parameters like data range or a step, so you can use multiple queries in VictoriaMetrics Anomaly Detection config and tune each individually. So by the end of the day, you query less data and you query only that amount of data that is needed for a particular query, for a particular model. So it improves flexibility of configs that you can create in a single config file. Also, we improved performance on multi-core instances for our vmReader for reading and data processing. So you should expect a huge boost on multi-core systems. And similar to what we've done for model dump, we introduced data disk dumps. The same intention here to reduce RAM utilization during the most heavy fit calls to our models. So you can dump stored data to local file system. It's also supported in Helm charts. As for the models, as agreed and as decided, we started working for online learning direction, and we introduced 3 new models. 2 of them are direct replacement for offline models, and one of them is a somewhat replacement to harder and more complicated models like Prophet, which is offline. And let me remember what is online, that the model can be once trained and then consecutively fit and updated with new data points coming in. So you don't really need to query longer historical periods to update the model. It will be updated itself on new data. And also we have so-called multivariate models, which can work on multiple time series and an input and producing a single anomaly score output. And we improve applicability for bigger setups. Right now, with a group by argument, you can specify some subdivision that you'd like to create a separate model. For example, if you have different regions or if you have different instances or different countries which do not really interfere with each other, you can still use multivariate models, but each trained on each subset. So you still get the benefits of multivariate models and the context, but you won't get some interference with the results. And as for the plans for Q4, we have 2 major directions. One of these is convenience of use. So we'd like to improve user experience, and we'll focus on vmui-based graphical user interface. So users can go and test various anomaly detection configurations on historical data. And once they're satisfied, you can just copy and start VM anomaly in production mode. Also, we'll launch Node Exporter preset v2 with improved visuals and based on resource-effective online models that we already developed. So stay tuned. As we got a lot of user feedback, we'd like to implement it in the best way. And also, as Anomaly itself and anomaly detection in general is a kind of complicated task for engineers, we'd like to create more educational articles and documentation of how-to guides, so you can visit them and see how to make Anomaly do its best on your data, given some default data profiles that you can see during your day-to-day tasks. And the second one is still resource efficiency. So we'll be improving our model performance and resource utilization on multi-core systems. And we'll add more efficient online models of different classes as a direct replacement for current and existing offline models like Profit. So user can optimize their existing configurations and get still good quality, but with way less resource spent. And I think that's it from my side. Here you have 2 links. One is for product page, where you can discover what vmAnomaly is best used for. And second one is our extension documentation, where you can read about all our configs, components, quick start guides, etc. And that's it from my side. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I have one question for you. When are you going to present any kind of demo of vmAnomaly?
I hope I will be able to present it with the help of new vmui. So it's not only a presentation, but a good visual. So once we accomplish it in Q4, I will prepare some demo for a broader audience.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
It will be a good addition to new educational materials, so users can not only read them, but also feel free to join and see how they are utilized.
There is a question from YouTube comments. Are there any plans to support other collectors like auto collector, telegraph, or black box exporter for anomaly presets?
Exactly. We already had a talk with Mathias to support telegraph preset. So stay tuned. As long as we're working on it, I hope to release it as well in Q4. But it's a kind of not confirmed plan, but we already talked about different presets, because preset mode takes much burden from user shoulders and allows simpler setups and simpler configurations just out of the box. So we hope to release new presets soon.
Okay, thank you. Let me, Fred, remove you from the screen as well as with your presentation. Roman, should I present myself or you?
To present your talk.
Yeah, okay. Let me start. And also let me remove you from stage.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, I'm Martin. Going to talk about updates in VictoriaMetrics Cloud. So there are 3 major categories for me. First is a lot of quality of life improvements. We added integration section and going to expand it heavily. And also there was quite nice internal migration where we changed our cluster topology. I will slightly talk about it later. So first things, a lot of improvements in our UI, and that's exactly quality of life improvements. So we changed overview page. We changed overview of deployment page. You can find a lot of information here. You can use this information currently better. Don't need to copy, just need to press. Measurements currently are better visualized. So you can see what is going on better and react faster. Also, we changed I believe our main page right now, that's creation of a new deployment, single node cluster version. We added some explanation about what it means to run cluster single, cloud providers, information about disks, size, recommended capacities, and things like that. There will be a lot of improvements there as well, like during the next 3 months, but it's already quite nice. It looks much better than it used to be. Next things, also rework of the access tokens, better view, more security. We'll talk about security a bit later. That's actually creation of the new token. We starting utilizing this right side widget heavily for integrations and for all helpers. Works quite nice and looks also nice. Also user management, new page. Feel free to play with it. Rework it. We still need to rework couple of them, and after that, that will have blocked a huge ability to change our flows and provide better user experience. I hope I will talk about that our next meetup, and this is our pipeline, but currently it looks much better and behaves much better. Next things, update, small update, but important update for all security fields. Currently everything is hidden. Added copy button. The major improvement here that if you copy this information, all actions are reflected in audit log, and you immediately see that user this. That's exactly, for example, Cloud Admin revealed Grafana Sandbox token yesterday. And this is applicable to all reveal actions in integrations when you need the copy. That's applicable to API key, success tokens, and will be standard for every other sensitive data. Integrations. We added new section, integration section. Currently we have 9 integration there. vmagent. So you can divide them for the categories: how you ingest data, how to visualize, read data, and also what you can do with this. So we have vmagent, Telegraph, Prometheus section that's about how you want to ingest data from your site to our cloud. We support internal alert manager, alerting rules, recording rules if you want, so you can run that in cloud and set up notifications for you in the Slack, Teams, other sources. I believe everything that's supported right now in Alert Manager, you can specify that in configuration. As well, we have sections like Kubernetes that guides you how to start monitoring of your Kubernetes cluster using VictoriaMetrics Cloud. And it's step-by-step guide, interactive. And as I mentioned previously, we are going to expand this section heavily. Next one will be agentless, not a serverless, but agentless metric collation from AWS CloudWatch via Firehose. We already support it, and VictoriaMetrics already supports that. And you can do it right now, but that will be definitely useful information for our customers and users, how to achieve that. That's actually example of our typical integration. This one is vmagent with a nice overview of what it means, and you can specify the deployment, access token. This example for the Kubernetes, so under the hood it use our official Helm chart and provide the values for this Helm chart. So what you need to do is just specify right deployments, right tokens, or create them. but there is an option. And after that, run this command in your terminal console, and in the end, you achieve the integration with currently with vmagent. But as I mentioned, there are some of them. Next change, actually, that was a huge change, internal one. In cloud, we provide 2 deployments types, single node and cluster version. And we completely changed the topology, how we run clusters. And we provide separate deployment per purpose. So that is your deployment. There is no lazy neighbors. Everything that happens with these deployments, that's everything up to you, and we guarantee that there will be no interfering and influence from the other side. We used replication factor and more straightforward topology when you have a bunch of the in-short storages, vmselect, and replication factor 2 for the cluster. But we switch it to topology when we run 2 independent clusters with vmagent for the data replication between them, with the load balancing before for the first available policy. And why we did this? First, maintainability. When you currently previous situation, when you apply changes to configuration, you may know that some of the configuration are parameter CLI flags, just the parameters, and if you need to change it, this definitely results in restart of the pods. And sometimes that can heavily influence your engineers reading write flow, and you want to avoid it. And the current topology allows us to just apply updates in one cluster, switch the load, and apply changes in another one cluster. Actually, under hood, there is 2 flows, and system decides if it significant update or fast pass. In both cases, we remove one of the zones from read flow, but in the end, we also understand how much time we need to do for the maintenance, and for user, it results into 0 downtime. We already tested the things. One test was not so good, but all other tests were extremely nice. And current situation, I really like the current stage of this. If you want to replicate the schema in open source, we have Helm distributed chart. Feel free to use it. It's the same topology. Only difference in that in this distributed chart we use vmOS as a load balancer, and in this schema we use Kubernetes services before inserts and select as a load balancers. We need to switch to vmOS because by our observation it works better, but currently it's fine enough. Next thing, as I mentioned, good part of topology changes. Currently, it's much easier to operate and automate. For the user, there is no any observations in terms of downtimes or performance degradations. But topology is more complex, and we introduced additional layer of vmagents, and that's increased the resource usage. Again, we have not raised the prices or things like that. That's our internal things, and we are willing to pay for stability. But if you want to adopt this on your open source or enterprise installations, please keep in mind the things. Next one about other updates. Security improvements. You may not notice that, and this is good, but a lot of the security things to please browsers, DNS, security policies, and stuff like that. That's the precondition of certifications. There will be a lot of more security updates. That's improved the situation, and that's good. More documentations and more coming. Better explanation of what is going on. About new things, I believe we already just recently released documentation for our API and support in terms of what you can expect, how to reach us, and what it means for you. And beside that, we introduced a couple new API public API points regarding the updating and regarding how you can operate with recording rules and alerting rules. So currently you can automate this process, and we are going to add more APIs soon. Actually, what's next? First things, building enhancements, more visibility on what is going on. So there is already information, that there will be even more information and more buttons to download. If you missing some information right now, feel free to reach our support, and some of customers doing that, and we are happy to provide all the things, but we're definitely going to eliminate this step and provide the better functionality. Next things, also based on the customer request, we are going to expose and allow you see deployment, healthy, and operational metrics outside of cloud as a regular metrics with the Grafana dashboards. So typical use case for VictoriaMetrics itself, not only cloud, but for cloud as well. That's platform as a service. And when someone uses your platform, you want to understand the reading load, writing load. In cloud currently, you can see it in monitoring tab, and we provide all information on deployment side, and you can also check in logs what is going on. But besides that, we also are going to provide option to see and check this information on your site and store these metrics somewhere close to you to have the fast and quick access. As I mentioned, more integrations. Next one will be agentless AWS monitoring via Firehose. We're also going to add more integration regarding reading, writing, notification side divided by section. That's actually, it works really nice, and definitely going to invest some time and more public APIs. So the entire idea to cover everything with public APIs and release Terraform or powerful provider for that. Again, custom requests, we're definitely going to fulfill it. As far I have some time here on the meetup and want to advertise that we are hiring in cloud, we are hiring product lead and SRE. So if you are currently looking for some opportunities, feel free to reach us. How to reach us? Public Slack, LinkedIn, Twitter, Artyom at VictoriaMetrics.com, like right in chat and in YouTube. So any useful way, I will definitely reply. And useful link, so you can sync up using sync up and read documentation about the cloud. That's it from my side. Let me return Roman.
Yeah, thanks Artem for presentation.
Next one is
Alexander, if I'm not mistaken, with VictoriaLogs update.
I also think so. Alex?
Yeah, hello, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Let me find your presentation. Actually, I cannot find it.
I just added my presentation to.
Okay, in the end.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, okay. Let's start. I'll talk you about what's new in VictoriaLogs in the third quarter of this year, and also I'll cover the roadmap for VictoriaLogs. Let's start with bug fixes, because we prioritize bug fixes at the top of feature requests and features. So let's start. to look at some bug fixes during the last quarter. The first bug fix is which fixes execution of queries with all filters if these filters are applied to distinct fields. Previously, such filters didn't return all the expected logs. For instance, this filter f1 colon foo selects all the logs with foo word in the f1 field. The next filter selects all the words with all the logs with bar word in the field f2. But when you try using combining these filters with OR operator, which must return all the logs matching either if the first filter or the second filter or both filters, this didn't work properly in VictoriaLogs, and this has been fixed recently. The next bug fix is related to proper calculation of field values, unique and top pipes. It has been discovered in VictoriaLogs data source during implementing of auto-suggestion and showing these label filters. For instance, if we execute this query, which should return all the field values for field level over the last 5 minutes, it could return inflated number of matching logs. Another example, the second query, we should return unique user ID values across all the logs with the error word, could return more user ID values as is needed because this user ID values didn't have this error word. And as I said, this could break out a suggestion in the VictoriaLogs plugin, and this has been fixed. The next bug fix is related to count unique stats function, which could return field values with 0 matching logs, and now it works as expected. The next bug fix is related to stream context pipe. In order to refresh your memory, what is stream context pipe? Is a pipe which allows you selecting surrounding logs for the selected logs. For instance, if you investigate some stack trace and every stack trace line is put in some indistinct log entry because of some misconfiguration, then stream context could help you investigating the whole stack trace. You just write stream context, write how many log entries you want to see before and after the given log, and it shows this logs, should show these logs. And there was a bug in VictoriaLogs which prevented showing logs outside the selected time range. And now this bug has been fixed. And for instance, if you use the following query, which selects all the logs with error word on the given second timestamp with second precision, and then apply stream context to this results of this filter. Previously, the stream context couldn't return logs which do not belong to the same the given second. Right now, it works as expected. It returns any number of logs before and after the selected log entry. The next bug fix fixes data ingestion with logstash when using Elasticsearch protocol. Now it works out of the box, and previously you had to implement some workaround. The next bug fix is related to proper data ingestion of logs with time field with SQL datetime and Unix timestamp formats. For instance, this example of SQL datetime format, as you can see, It has white space between date and time, and it is different from this RFC 3339 format, which has the letter C, capital T, instead of this white space. Now such logs logs with timestamps in this format are properly ingested into the VictoriaLogs, and also VictoriaLogs now can accept logs with time field containing Unix timestamp in seconds. There are also numerous bug fixes in VictoriaLogs plugin for Grafana. As you can see, there is a screenshot from GitHub issues for VictoriaLogs plugin with the fixed bugs over the last quarter. And what about bug fixes for data persistence? There are no bug fixes for data persistence because VictoriaLogs data format has been designed and in the beginning of VictoriaLogs development, and it wasn't changed since this time. And it had no any data persistent bugs which could lead to loss of your data, stored data. And there were 0 breaking changes in storage formats since June 2023, when the first release of VictoriaLogs has been made. And this means that VictoriaLogs is safe to use in production. Let's look at some features of VictoriaLogs. The first feature is support for OpenTelemetry format for data ingestion. Now VictoriaLogs accepts data from OpenTelemetry collectors and other OpenTelemetry agents which support OpenTelemetry format for data ingestion for logs, such as Elasticsearch, Loki, or OTel collector. Another enhancement is the ability to pass data ingestion settings via HTTP headers. Previously, such data ingestion settings could be passed only via query arcs, and some logs collectors, log shippers did support configuring these querying arcs, and that's why we decided to add support for passing these parameters via HTTP headers. For instance, you may pass the message field, which should be used as the message field name, which should be used as message, time field name, stream fields, and so on. So basically, you can pass the same arcs parameters which previously could be passed via command query arcs for this HTTP data ingestion endpoints. The next feature is new HTTP APIs. The first API, which allows you building graphs from queries. This API returns per step stats for the given query on the given time range, and it returns this stats in Prometheus compatible format, so it can be graphed on in Grafana or WebUI. And this API is going to be used by built-in WebUI and in Victoria plugin for Grafana. You can read more about this endpoint by this link, and also add your own integration if you want. Another API is designed for alerting and recursion rules. This API just returns you query results at the given time. This sounds like not like usual, but the devil is in details. So this query returns this data results, query results in the format compatible with Prometheus for alerting. And this means that vmalert can use this API for building alerts and metrics from logs. And this feature, as Roman already said, is in works and will be ready soon. So vmalert will be able to be configured to send queries to VictoriaLogs and generate alerts and metrics from these logs and store metrics in some systems like VictoriaMetrics. You can read about this on this link. The next feature is local time zone support. Previously, VictoriaLogs could accept only timestamps during data ingestion with time zone information. And if you miss time zone information, then VictoriaLogs just rejected such logs. Now it accepts such logs and accepts such logs in local time zone where VictoriaLogs runs. For example, you can ingest logs with time field which doesn't contain time zone information, like in this example. And also you can use this timestamps or time filters without time zone during queries. And in this case, these queries are executed in the local time zone of the VictoriaLogs host. This may be useful if you need investigating logs not at UTC time zone, but at some local time zone. Let's look at LogsQL improvements. The first improvement is that you don't need to put this underscore stream prefix for stream filters. You can just omit it, and the filter will work as before. This enhancement has been made in order to simplify migration from users who run Loki, Grafana Loki, and now they try VictoriaLogs, because Grafana Loki has the syntax without this underscore stream prefix. And another improvement is ability to use this dash character instead of exclamation character as node shortcut in LogsQL. For instance, minus foo is equivalent to exclamation mark foo query, and it is equivalent to not foo. This means that this query searches for logs without this foo word. This change should simplify migration from Elasticsearch, for instance, to VictoriaLogs, because Elasticsearch uses query language. Elasticsearch uses minus instead of exclamation mark for negative filters. So this should simplify migration. The next improvements are related to query performance optimizations. Now VictoriaLogs performs some types of queries much faster than before, 10 times and more faster. You can look, for instance, if you perform some analytical query which doesn't touch this time field, then this query will be executed much faster than before. Also, there was a significant improvement in performance and memory usage reduction for stream context pipe when it is applied to streams with big number of entries, log entries, such as millions and more. And also there is an improvement for performance for queries with so-called in filters, multi-exact filters, which for big number of unique values inside these filters. There are a lot of improvements in web UI for VictoriaLogs. The top improvement is the ability to show log distribution across top 5 log streams with the biggest number of logs. As you can see on the screenshot, there are 3 different log streams with the biggest number of logs over the selected time range, and it's very easy to highlight and discover some issues with these log streams which generate the most of the logs. Another important improvement is the ability to enable auto-refresh option for query results. So query results will be auto-refreshed for the given interval, as in the same way as VictoriaMetrics does in WebUI. Another improvement is an addition of vlogs.cli, this interactive command line tool for VictoriaLogs querying. It supports navigation over query history, similar to the history navigation in Unix shells. So you can press up, down arrows for navigating history, or you can press Ctrl-R, Ctrl-S, and type some prefixes, words, and this navigates through history with these prefixes and words. There is a support for on-demand scrolling over large query responses, so you can execute queries which select literally billions of logs, and such queries will be executed without any issues. This LogsQL CLI will show you only the first page which fits your screen, vertical screen size, and later you can just scroll up, down, and search over these logs with the commands similar to less, because underneath vlogs.cli uses less command for paging. You can also cancel log running queries at any time just by pressing Ctrl-C at any time, and this instantly stops query execution at VictoriaLogs site. And this LogsQL shows query execution duration for every query. This may help you optimizing query performance. So give it a try. It is available in the latest release of VictoriaLogs. Let's look at the roadmap of VictoriaLogs. The first point is cluster version. There is a work in progress on the cluster version, and it should be finished in the next month, just before the KubeCon in North America in November, in the middle of November. But I'd suggest you don't wait for cluster version and try single node version right now, because single node version of VictoriaLogs can already replace 30-node Elasticsearch cluster and can handle the same workload as 30-node Elasticsearch cluster. And also data storage format for single node VictoriaLogs is 100% compatible with cluster version. This means when cluster version will appear, you can easily migrate from single node version to cluster version by replacing the single node binary with storage binary for cluster version. And in this case, this single node data will become data for a single storage node in cluster version. And as you can see before, single node version of VictoriaLogs doesn't lose any data. It had no any data corruption and data loss bugs since the initial release in the last year. So it is ready for production. So try it. And the next important feature in our roadmap is transparent archival of historical data to object storage. How it works? It should automatically archive historical data to object storage. You can configure for how long you want to keep data in local storage, and after that, VictoriaLogs will automatically upload all the data to object storage and delete this data from local storage. And after that, you can query all the data, local and data stored in object storage without any issues, without any configuration. It should work out of the box and fully transparently to the end user. And the archived data at object storage is equivalent to data backup. So when this feature will be implemented, you don't need to make additional backups, because the data which has been uploaded to object storage is already can be treated as data backup. And this data backup can be used for data recovery at other VictoriaMetrics clusters or VictoriaLogs clusters, for instance. That's all.
Thanks, Alex, for your presentation. There are questions in the YouTube regarding the slides. So the first question is, will VictoriaLogs in the cluster version support resharding of the data between shards if you, for example, add more storage nodes?
No, the answer is no. And the reason is because resharding may increase resource usage significantly. During this resharding, you need to move huge amounts of data between storage nodes. This takes CPU time, this takes network bandwidth, this takes disk I/O, and this may hurt current operations of and stability of the VictoriaLogs cluster or single node cluster. Yeah. So the answer is not. It will not be implemented.
Okay, as far as I added controversial answer in the chat, my question regarding this: can I copy one day? Can I move one day of data from one storage to another one?
Yes, VictoriaLogs stores data in per day partitions, and every partition is stored in a separate directory. And this partition contains the data itself and the index for this data. And this means that this partition, this directory, can be freely copied between storage nodes, between VictoriaLogs single node instances, and so on. So yes, the answer is yes.
So and it's currently supported. So there will be not any automated resharding, but if you want to move one data from one storage to another one storage, you already
can make this manually. Yes, that's correct answer.
Yeah, that's true. But internal observation that when you move data, this doesn't mean that you, of course, from the disk perspective, you somehow to reshard the usage, and you can evenly utilize the disk space. But this may result into different resource usage of the CPU and memory, because currently, because data will be sharded differently. And this may result into one storage should handle everything compared to other stuff.
Other questions? Because
should we answer them in the end of the session, or should we continue?
I think answering them right away is a better approach.
Yeah,
that was the
because we don't lose context right now. Yeah.
Okay.
So the question is also, I remember when you present VictoriaLogs, do you have plans to implement support for Kibana? As I understood, this question is related to Elasticsearch query language and querying API, which is used by Kibana. So the question can be rephrased whether VictoriaLogs will support querying API from Elasticsearch, which is used by Kibana. And if VictoriaLogs will support this querying API, this means that Kibana can be pointed to VictoriaLogs. And the answer is we don't know yet. We didn't decide yet. Because we believe that web UI for VictoriaLogs will be much better alternative to Kibana over time. And we bet on this web UI for VictoriaLogs, and also we bet on Grafana plugin for VictoriaLogs. So let's see if we will see high demand from users who want to use Kibana for querying VictoriaLogs, then we can reprioritize this feature.
Yeah, let me also comment. That's of course a trade-off of the adoption versus our plans. And if tomorrow we understand that we must support Kibana and the Elasticsearch query language for their better adoption, we may do this decision. But currently, we still believe that what we are doing it right. And if it's not so, just let us know. And of course, from our perspective, we understand that migration is a crucial part of every it's essential part when you switch the technology, and it can take a while. So we want to decrease the adoption time as much as possible. So it's one of the goals, and it's already proven by VictoriaMetrics.
The next question is any plan to separate access to logs of different applications? That's a good feature request, but I think that this feature request is good for enterprise version of VictoriaLogs. So if you want this feature to be implemented in VictoriaLogs, then please file feature request, and we will then decide whether this needs to be implemented.
I don't really get it. Isn't multi-tenancy supposed?
Yeah, multi-tenancy.
Yeah, that's a good correction. VictoriaLogs already supports multi-tenancy out of the box. This means that you can separate different users into different tenants and write data to different tenants and select this data from different tenants. And these tenants are quite isolated. The data from these tenants are quite isolated. But VictoriaLogs itself doesn't provide any authorization between different tenants. And you can implement this authorization right now with vmouse proxy sitting in front of this VictoriaLogs instance. Yeah. So in theory, right now you can build a system on top of VictoriaLogs with different access for different teams, using this multi-tenancy feature and using this vmouse in front of VictoriaLogs.
Thank you. Next question.
Any plan to add a process data source for VictoriaLogs? Yes, we have such plans, and I think we eventually add process data source for VictoriaLogs. Thanks. I hope you will implement delete feature via API for VictoriaLogs.
I hope.
Yeah, that sounds useful and frequently used for logs, and this feature will be implemented. And please file feature requests for features you think are important for VictoriaLogs, and this will help us not losing these features. and prioritizing them later.
Question from my side: soft deletion or hard deletion?
Good question. I think that initially this will be soft deletion because it's much easier to implement, and probably later it will be hard deletion. The soft deletion, the distinction between soft deletion and hard deletion is that during soft deletion, the data itself isn't instantly deleted from disk, but it becomes invisible for querying, and later this data will be deleted from disk during background operations at VictoriaLogs. This is much easier to implement, and it works. It will work instantly, and compared to hard deletion. And hard deletion can take on different amounts of time, depending on the amounts of logs in your system.
Thank you. And the last question from anonymous user: when are you going to, or we going to release Percona for logs, Grafana.source and vmui for logs? I'm talking about Kubernetes logs.
We already have this playground for VictoriaLogs, which is available at the link play-vmlogs.VictoriaMetrics.com. I tried posting the answer to this question in the chat, but something doesn't work as expected, and I couldn't post this link. Let me post it to you in private chat, and you can repost it in public chat. But this playground has an issue. It is based on source of logs with very low frequency. This source of logs generates basically a few new log entries per day, and this is very low, and it doesn't allow you exploring the full potential of VictoriaLogs performance and VictoriaLogs query language abilities. And I think that we need to change the source of these logs for playground, and I have a plan to use GitHub archive for this particular case. Artem, could you repost these links from private chat to public chat, because I cannot do this because of some bugs. Yeah. So the plan for this playground for VictoriaLogs is to use this GitHub archive, which contains all the events generated by GitHub users, and store them in VictoriaLogs for basically all the events or the full history of GitHub, and ingest these logs every new day, and allow users the ability to query these logs with this playground. I don't see these links. Artem, did you try posting them?
I posted the links. I believe I have some troubles with my connection. I posted the link, and also I changed it. You're currently moderator. You also can post the links.
Okay, I think we should go to other slides. To other
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. So who is the next, Artem?
Roma Novikov, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. Hello.
Hello. Hello,
Okay.
everyone.
Let us disappear.
Okay. Okay. So today I'll tell some story of our usage of VictoriaMetrics and how we migrated to using VictoriaMetrics as one of our key components. And my name is Roman. I'm the product manager at Percona, and at Percona we're working with open source databases, making them running efficiently and properly, I would say. And In today's presentation, we go through quick explanation what is PMM, what's our architecture and the challenges we had, as well as kind of why and how we migrated from Prometheus to the VictoriaMetrics to be one of our sources inside the product, and which result we had. And I need to admit that this change happened not recently, so I think the results I will be telling about are really time-proofed. So it's kind of we trust in those results already. And let me go quickly over what is the PMM, what's the goal of the tool. So we created PMM as internal tool because we are mainly service company supporting some of the major open source databases, and we created the PMM as a tool to help us monitor, manage, and kind of track performance of the databases in different deployments. And by different deployments and different databases, I mean we support MySQL, PostgreSQL, MongoDB, and a couple of proxies to deploy those databases in different topologies. We also support different environments like bare metal, some Amazon deployments, including the RDS and Aurora, GCP, Azure, and also we have this kind of the way of monitoring databases different. It can be local monitoring or remote monitoring when you don't have access to the host machine where a database is running. And well, usually we prefer the local monitoring when you have agent, when you have ability to run some node exporter, expose, collect the metric, because combining the metric from the database and from the host is one of the best set of data you can have to really understand the performance of databases, like what's impacting it. Is it really the database, or there is some disk problem or some other hardware problem impacting your database? And the PMM is kind of classical client-server application where we have monitored system which kind of connected or interacting with our PMM client, which kind of collect all the data, scrape database, so do all the work, and then the data appeared on the server where the user is kind of mainly interacting with, and our PMM server also interact with some performance infrastructure, receiving additional alert templates or some advisor. So it receives additional intelligence from our side or get some updates information. And when we kind of worked on the initial architecture, when we start building all of this, it was based on the Prometheus, and usual kind of Prometheus stack kind of looks like that. Then it kind of, when you go to the operational problem, it becoming quite complicated to manage all these kind of elements by yourself. And that's where kind of in PMM we made this kind of the one tool to manage all the stuff, ruled all those elements on the server, on the client, how to start run them. So that was working fine, but then we got to the next kind of level of problem, and the network. So not everyone who running the databases have databases in some, I wouldn't say unsecured environment, but the environment where people run some monitoring tools, and the database usually different, and database are usually much more protected. And when we are kind of looking at the set of technology we support, the different environment the databases can be running, and their location of our agent and how we get the data, it was kind of literally the multiplication of all possible options, and it was all leaded to the, hey, here is the next port, or you need to open to have a collector running on the database. And this again was getting to really huge huge pain to the users, like which port to open if you want to monitor MySQL on bare metal remotely, right? Or if what to do if you need other configuration. So that was kind of real pain when we added more support of more technologies, and people using that and using the PMM and expected kind of simpler user experience, right? So that's where we start looking at some different models of collecting data. The pull push discussion is started, like how to make it easier to collect data, send data, and also avoid the pain with configuration and operation of the monitoring tool, because the monitoring tool is usually to make your life easier and let you focus on the main main system. In our case, it's databases. So we start looking at kind of our goals and what we want to change in this. So we definitely wanted to keep simplicity and have user experiences kind of as simple as possible, because that's the key to get kind of user adoption and let people easily work with the tool. We also realized that the flexibility in the models and having kind of pull and push option is something we really need. And actually, that's also not something we can dictate. That's what user in some cases need to choose. So they needed those flexibility. And the performance, what we had at that moment was already good optimized because our specialty is the database performance. So again, we can't afford the monitoring tool be less performance than the databases. And we also kind of have the limitation on resources in a way that whatever we do, we can't consume much resources, because the majority of our monitoring infrastructure, I mean, the client side, is running on database. And again, the monitoring tool can't consume significant amount of resources on database, because it's not the main work for the database server is kind of to run the monitoring. Their main work is run the database, provide users with data, so resources must be kind of also saved and not extended. And that's where, through the kind of selection of the options, we came to idea of replacing Prometheus with VictoriaMetrics and VictoriaMetrics agent. So to have all those kind of keep the simplicity and make it even easier, have the flexibility of different data models, data injection models, and keep everything on the performance and resource side. So what and how we ended up is we changed the architecture, where we on client side, we added vmagent, so together with in the same kind of level as we have our exporters. Like all of those are open source community exporters. Some of them we support and maintain, like the MongoDB one. And we had the PMM agent, which was just a supervisor and kind of manager for all exporters. Speaking, we're connected to our server part and kind of generating all the configuration for exporters. On the server side, we just kind of replaced Prometheus with VictoriaMetrics, but we kind of just replace one binary by another wasn't the real goal, because we wanted to make it really seamless for the users. So how we've done this transition is kind of, I try to present it in kind of and explain on this slide. So in some older version, we had the Prometheus running on the server side, because the server side was the main complexity here. And then we added VictoriaMetrics to the server together with Prometheus. And for some period of time, it was the process when the new data was kind of written and injected into the VictoriaMetrics already, while the VictoriaMetrics was doing the reading data from VictoriaMetrics and from Prometheus, which was there. And we kept this configuration for some period of time, while the retention period for PMM, it's by default 1 month, until this retention period is ended. So the all data is already in VictoriaMetrics, and then kind of the UI is just reading everything from VictoriaMetrics directly. And that's how the users got this through just usual upgrades of PMM. And so for users, that was just go to upgrade to the new version of PMM, press the button on the UI, get new version, and they kind of magically got the new component running inside. But what I would say we had at the result and the user, right? So at the result, we got this flexibility in network topology for their infrastructure. So DBAs, so DevOps infrastructure people can decide how they want to run the monitoring. Was it pull or push model? That was up to them for configuration. We also got, thanks to the kind of their architecture, we got the ability to provide users with troubleshooting ability at the moment when the network had a problem, right? Because previously, when we were doing just pull mode and scraping the exporters directly from PMM server, if there are any problem on network and between server and the database connection is broken or interrupted, there was no data and it was much harder to understand what's happened. Now with VictoriaMetrics agent on the database side and scraping and collecting all the data, when the network is restored, we got all the data for this period of time, and it was much easier to understand what other stuff kind of happened in the infrastructure. So we got this kind of additional cool feature for users to use one. At the same time, we had no database or no dashboard changes from because we were previously using PromQL. Everything moved to the MetricsQL. We later started kind of using some advantages of MetricsQL just to simplify dashboards or provide more kind of easier way of understanding the data. And we got kind of improved efficiency on the storage for the servers in general, because of much more efficient usage on the VictoriaMetrics side. And the last, I think, kind of the most important advantage, I think, was that there was no user complaint on that. So no one kind of noticed that we changed something in our architecture. We replaced some components, moved from one tool to another, but everything worked for the users. And well, for me as the product manager, that was good, because then we delivered all those previous additional features without losing any kind of advantages people had previously. So that was our kind of story with switching and using VictoriaMetrics inside the PMM. It's kind of all components in PMM are open source, so we really believe in that and staying open source. And I think that's also, if there are any questions.
Yes, we have one question. Let me add Roman.
Yeah, I also have a question. What do you use for logs?
For logs, we now for the observability story, of course, we need logs, and we right now in a way of looking at options to use for logs, and of course we are closely looking at the VictoriaLogs for that, because it will be easier to integrate, and that's probably will be our preference. We right now testing and kind of comparing to be unbiased in this. So when we will have results, I can share with you.
Yeah, can you share the competitors? Like, yeah.
Well, we mainly kind of, so in PMM, in our architecture, in kind of what we have inside, we also have the ClickHouse for one of our components, Query Analytics, and of course we using the Grafana for the visualization. So in our kind of selection list right now, it's either VictoriaMetrics Logs, Loki, or some tools based on ClickHouse, just to reuse the existed storage. But well, there is, I think, less standard set of tools based on ClickHouse. Well, ClickHouse also may be the good option, but for so we're doing kind of some selection right now, and I think in a month we'll have the path to go with logs in PMM finally.
Okay, thanks. It would be nice to have a public benchmark of VictoriaLogs somewhere. Yeah, so we have a question from the YouTube chat. So is there a reason you didn't use vmctl? vmctl is a tool from VictoriaMetrics components which allows to migrate data from various systems to VictoriaMetrics. So is there a reason why you didn't use vmctl to migrate data from Prometheus to VictoriaMetrics?
So we wanted our main goal was to find the way to kind of do this as seamlessly as possible and avoid downtimes for the users, because some of the users have really significant amount of the data they monitoring. So we were kind of looking for the ways to not duplicate data, to not cause downtimes, and not do there a lot of migrations with the data. So
yeah, so basically making VictoriaMetrics be able to read from Prometheus data blocks makes it more transparent for user, as I understand. So you don't need to have this preheat phase when something is copied somewhere, consumes resources, etc. Just for user, it's you turn it on and you get access for both to the recently written data and historical data from Prometheus.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for participating. Yes. Artyom,
Thank you.
shall we add Mathias?
Yep.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm going to talk about how I got hired at VictoriaMetrics by making my own monitoring and logging system. A bit about me. I've been obsessed with observability for about 5 years now. Actually, my first date with my wife, I wouldn't shut up about how much I loved observability. And there was even a betting pool at the office about if that was the only thing I talked about on my first date, and they won. So that through a variety of jobs working everywhere from tiny MSPs to large publicly traded companies, I ended up at VictoriaMetrics as a solutions engineer. I'm also a big fan of animals and memes, so you're going to see a couple of silly pictures during this. So along with my various day jobs I've worked on an open source project called Shiftmon that tries to make monitoring and logging easier and open source for everybody. I've noticed that a lot of well put together observability solutions either required using proprietary agents and led to really expensive cloud bills, or they required using a Kubernetes operator, and the places I was working at the time didn't have access to Kubernetes admins or a Kubernetes cluster. And I wanted something that kind of fit those use cases where Kubernetes or expensive cloud products wouldn't work. It also tries to instrument apps automatically. So there's an Ansible playbook and a PowerShell script that will try to detect what's running on a machine while the playbook or script is running, and then instrument those things automatically. It also comes with a bunch of pre-canned Grafana dashboards and some example alerts, so that way you can get straight to doing the things that are specific to your business or your home lab, rather than spending time creating a generic Linux host dashboard. It also supports the ability for users to add their own configuration, so their own Telegraph configs or their own Grafana dashboards or data sources. And under the hood, it's using Ansible to glue together VictoriaMetrics, vmauth, vmalert, Loki for now, and Telegraph. VictoriaLogs is also optional along with the Grafana on-call product. The other thing is I really wanted to have low requirements on the user. So instead of having to have access to cloud vendors or object storage or things like that, you only needed Linux machine, Ansible, and to set a few DNS records to get an instance of Shiftmon up and running. So how did this lead to my job at VictoriaMetrics? So I was using a lot of the VictoriaMetrics tools. I submitted some feature requests to get better InfluxDB support. And I was watching all the conference talks and everything so I can learn more about it. So I already had a very good feeling about VictoriaMetrics, and it was one of the few places I'd like, no matter where I was working, I'd apply there. And Shiftmon also gave me a good chance to show off not only the fact that I have some operation skills, but also some soft skills because I streamed some of the development on YouTube. I've spoken at it at a few conferences. So it gave me a good opportunity to demonstrate that I was a good candidate for a solutions engineer, since that has a lot of soft skills involved in it. It also has helped even after I got hired at VictoriaMetrics, because to learn about all the enterprise features, I implemented them to Shiftmon. So now Shiftmon supports anomaly detection and ad support for some of the enterprise features like downsampling. And now it's also helping me move customers off of legacy systems. So there are some users that are on older systems that charge per host or some other thing rather than the number of active time series. And because I already have a good data set of common things like Linux hosts, Windows hosts, containers, and those sorts of things, I can kind of map the two concepts onto each other. Like, hey, a Docker host is going to have roughly this many metrics. Linux host without system D monitoring is going to be this many metrics. So it's continuing to help me even now. And you could also deploy Shiftmon with a single button. I imported this as a PDF, so I'll have to do the demo later, but this was supposed to be a quick video. And before the demo, I want to mention that VictoriaLogs is the thing I'm currently working on adding to this. The VictoriaLogs data source is added by default, and VictoriaLogs can be installed by specifying a few Ansible variables. The main things that are blocking me from just spending all my time working on migrating from Loki to VictoriaLogs is alert rules aren't supported yet, but Alexander mentioned that that's going to be fixed soon. The dashboarding experience needs to requires a couple of transforms to use with like pie charts and time series. And the last thing is the alert state for Grafana alerts. So in order to make Grafana alerting scale, you need to send all the alert state to Loki rather than the SQL database, since it can have arbitrary labels in it. And that doesn't fit well inside of a SQL database. So to solve that problem, the alert state gets sent to Loki, and there's not a way to do that in VictoriaLogs yet. So let me present my browser. Share screen. Okay. So here's an example of a dashboard that mixes together the VictoriaMetrics and VictoriaLogs data source. So one of my favorite things about using VictoriaLogs so far is the ability to get at semi-structured data inside of another message. So right now I'm using VictoriaLogs with Telegraph and the Loki API. And the way Telegraph sends messages to Loki, it wraps everything up in log format, which is very difficult to deal with if you have structured logs as the message, because you have different types of structured logs or nested structuring, and that can be really tricky to deal with other systems. But here, VictoriaLogs lets you pipe the unpack log format to another operation and keep unpacking data inside of it. So you can get these really pretty tables here. Another nice thing too is that it does work with pie charts. It does just require those couple of little transforms. And I believe there's an issue to get that fixed in the near future. And then after that, I plan on porting all the existing dashboards in there as well. And then do we have time to show off an anomaly detection demo? I know Artem's been wanting one of those for a while.
No, we do. We have time. Definitely.
Perfect. So as an example, I've been working with Fred on the Anomaly team to have a preset for Telegraph black box monitoring. So both in my job and in my personal life, people tell me that the services I run are slow, but they don't have a millisecond or some observable definition of what slow is. So anomaly detection helps me get a good idea of what slow is without non-technical users having to communicate what that means. So this dashboard right here shows the current anomaly score sorted from high to low, and anything above 1 should be considered an anomaly. And it shows the expected value, the minimum expected, and some of the other values generated by anomaly detection at a high-level overview. And then if you scroll down, you could select an individual service. So we were looking at Blocky earlier. And we can see here that there were a couple of anomalies for the service. And then below that, it will also show what the expected values were and the actual values. This was covered in the H1 blog post for for VM Anomaly, if you want more details about that. And the other nice thing too, since it's using Ansible as the abstraction, you can use things like Ansible Semaphore or just running it on the CLI to deploy it. So just 2 button clicks and you're deploying a Shiftmon host. That's all I had. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks for presentation. It's it's really nice. I didn't see this application before in the live. I only saw your YouTube presentations, your talk on YouTube recorded by it, but I never touched it physically. It's nice that you presented it. Yeah, it looks good, and it's also great how you can compile the product by picking open source products, which are also, like, I don't know, open source being open source is still amazes me, because you can build like a whole product based on the tools that exist there in the internet and maintained by many people and by big communities.
Yeah, it's been really nice too, because it's like super simple to deploy. Like, I think when I was researching migrating the metrics from InfluxDB, I think I had VictoriaMetrics up and running in like an hour.
Cool. And are all of those components that you use, all of them written in Go?
I believe Anomaly Detection and Grafana On-Call are written in Python.
Okay.
So all the standard components that come with the default deployment are written in Go. Some of the optional ones are. And then Uptime Kuma is an optional deployment for black box monitoring, and that's written in Node. But if you want to stick strictly to Golang, you can use the Ansible playbook to set up black box monitoring with Telegraph.
I see. Thanks. Yeah, we have a question from user on YouTube. Are the anomalies statically set, or are they dynamic based of historical data?
The anomalies are based on historical data, and something that I accidentally glossed over is that there's a minimum threshold. So I decided that anything that isn't above 50 seconds for an HTTP or DNS query wasn't considered an anomaly, because the DNS server response time is so narrow from the low to the high. Things that were a reasonable response time were flagging as an anomaly. So it's kind of a mix, but it's based off historical data. And Fred, feel free to correct me if I say anything silly.
Yeah, Fred has to be put on the stage in another document.
Hi guys. Yeah, regarding the question about anomalies, basically they are vm anomaly used under the hood, and vm anomaly use statistical models and machine learning models, and they both work on historical data. And what also Mathias was talking about, that it not only use some machine learning models under the hood, but it also use some business-specific arguments that user can tweak to decrease the amount of possible false positives. And it can be seen from the live view that Mathias presented. You can throw them, you can throw there some upper and lower boundaries for expected values, and sometimes real values, they were exceeding this interval, but there were still no anomalies detected because Mathias on his end configured so-called minimum deviation from expected parameter to be around 50 milliseconds. So every deviation less than 50 milliseconds from what the model expected to be weren't considered as anomaly. That's why it wasn't flagged as anomaly, and it reduced the amount of false positives drastically.
Okay.
I hope that answered your initial questions.
Yeah, if you have any follow-up questions, I mean users on YouTube, just add them and we'll try to address later. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Mathias, for presentation. It was great. Yeah, Artyom. The next one, if I'm not mistaken, is John Jerome, right?
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
Cool. Thanks, Roman. And hello, everyone. Thanks for following us today. I'm going to cover updates that we call community updates. So these are activities and details that came together over the past 3 months. And I want to credit my colleague Denise, who I usually present this with, who can't join us for this presentation, but he put most of it together. So thank you, Denise, for that. First of all, we wanted to share some of our current stats as of a couple of days ago, and it's looking pretty nice. Thanks to all of our users and customers who are making this happen, and to our team, of course. But we're now well over 700 million downloads, 720 even, and so we're looking forward to a bigger number before the end of the year. But this is pretty fantastic. Thanks to everyone who's making this possible. And you can see some of the other stats that we follow and that we love to see, such as everyone who's joining us in our Slack channel. We have a public Slack channel that's really quite active, both for metrics and for logs. The number of issues that we deal with, the number of pull requests, and of participants also, importantly. So thanks to all of you, and we're looking forward to the Q4 update, so stay tuned for that. We had, I think, as usual, a lot of releases, even though there's a bit of a shift. So as you can see, we had a lot of VictoriaLogs releases, which is fantastic news. And as Alex explained earlier, we're expecting some more and some big news still on VictoriaLogs before the end of the year. But continue also with the VictoriaMetrics, of course, and we looked at the latest updates there earlier, as well as the roadmap details, so both for metrics and for the LTS releases for VictoriaMetrics. So thank you to everyone, the team, and all of our contributors in the community who are helping with that. The other big number that we wanted to share that we're really proud of and happy with is in our GitHub repository that we hit over 12,000 stars. So thanks to everyone who clicked that button since we started with VictoriaMetrics and now also VictoriaLogs. It's a great number to see, and we just love the feedback. So if you're happy, we are happy. So keep the stars coming. Thank you. Right, and this is probably the biggest piece of news on the community side of things that we want to share. It's a project that Denise is running. So I'm speaking on his behalf, and it's our new community organization on GitHub, which we invite you to follow and to participate in. So this is where we want to help any users who have a project, that runs or works with VictoriaMetrics. If we'll support you to have it there in this community organization. Denise is also working on more of a web presence for the VictoriaMetrics community, so we will have news on that over the next few months as well. But this is a really cool project, and most of you will probably know Denise from our Slack channel, so feel free to reach him there if you have questions on this. And also, of course, do go and check it out. We'd love the participations and the feedback on it. Right. Something that's been new in the sense of content that we produce in the past 3 months is that our new colleague Fong has started and kept maintaining on a weekly basis a blog post series on Go. So you probably all know that VictoriaMetrics is written in Go, that all of us, or most of us, are huge Go fans, if not developers. So we like to say we go first. So it's a fantastic blog series. It's been weekly. It's all to do with Go, how to use Go, how to optimize with Go. It uses VictoriaMetrics also at times as a background to tell these stories. So if you haven't seen this blog series yet, I invite you to go check it out. Go check it out. We have there's a direct link to all of the posts. Go at VictoriaMetrics, and then you also have the individual ones. It's just a really great series that Fong has kicked off here. We're getting lots of great feedback on it, and so if you're a Go developer, if you're interested in Go, I encourage you to check this out. And of course, we are also publishing content and thought pieces on observability, on monitoring itself, on our core activities. One blog post that has generated quite a bit of interest and lots of questions, discussions recently is a post we did with Alex on the rise of open source time series databases. If you haven't read it yet, please do. It's a really nice thought piece by Alex. It goes with the other blog post listed here on software licenses and open source versus revenue growth rates. They're kind of connected. So I invite you to read both of those. And then our new colleague, Jikun, has also started a blog post series specifically on questions or situations that arise that our users put to us as they work or use with VictoriaMetrics. And so you have the blog here, community questions, and also troubleshooting time series databases. That's by Jikun. And you can expect more of those types of posts as well. Then we've been in the news. So we did a we did an announcement 3 months ago, roughly, or 2 months ago, on the new release of VictoriaMetrics Cloud, which we heard updates of earlier. That got us nice pieces of coverage, especially in the register. Nice piece there that also generated questions and discussions. We also we talk to the journalists regularly, which is really nice, and we're quite thankful for that, and also to different analysts. One of them being James Governor from RedMonk, whom we've shared a couple of tweets here that he posted after we spoke to him. This helps us get feedback from experts who work in the industry and who talk to other organizations such as us, and it also helps us spread the news. So we're always thankful for that type of press coverage and discussions. We're quite busy for the end of this year. in terms of talks, and it's been really quite nice this year anyway. We've done quite a few events and conferences and online talks and so on. You can see the ones that are coming up next. For instance, we'll be in Paris next week at one of our users' headquarters, Criteo, based in Paris. So Alex will be presenting there on the latest features from VictoriaLogs. We'll also talk at Mathias, who spoke earlier, will be speaking at Conf 42. You can see the list of conferences here. A nice one also is it's the first of its kind, the Open Source Observability Conference. It's an online conference, so you can sign up for that on the 24th of October. I think the biggest one on the list here is probably KubeCon in Salt Lake City. So if you're planning to attend, we're looking forward to seeing you there. And we put the links here to the other conferences and talks we're going to do. Some of them will be talking about logs, some of them will talk about VictoriaMetrics and so on. So it's a nice, there'll be a nice mix of talks and of course, opportunity to meet you. So if you're in any of those areas and you want to meet, do let us know in our Slack channel, for example. Then there are also lots of activities which we're really thankful for from within the community. For instance, today there's a group, Women in Cloud Native, who come together regularly, and they had a talk and an event today where they talked about enhancing cloud native observability with OpenTelemetry and VictoriaMetrics, which we were really happy to see. And we'd love to do or to work more with that particular group also. Our colleague Haley posted something on how to set up HA VictoriaMetrics. There's a team at Zomato who wrote about how and why they migrated to VictoriaMetrics. Sufyan Bouchara, he wrote about VictoriaMetrics as well. And Arseny Zinchenko, he writes quite regularly about both VictoriaMetrics and VictoriaLogs. So thanks to him for doing that and for those community activities. With that, thanks to you all. There's a link here to our community page, and you can find all of the different areas that you can reach us through. And look forward to talking to you at one of the upcoming events or in our Slack channel or any other channel that you use to contact us.
Yeah, thanks for talk, JJ, and for slides and for collecting all this stuff together. I would also add that during the summer, we also had plenty of events to participate and talks recorded on YouTube and also articles. So yeah, I encourage everyone who interested in what VictoriaMetrics does, the topics we discuss, which are always technical. Yeah, just Google our name in YouTube.
For sure.
Yeah, so I guess that's all. We have the last section is Q&A. And do we have any questions to answer? Okay, someone disconnected everyone. Artyom, are you there? You are muted, probably.
Yeah, I was who disconnected everyone. Currently, I have some additional noise, so will be muted and cannot on stage everyone who wants.
Yeah, sorry. So Artyom, as a parent, have responsibilities in the evening. For me, it is the similar. I also have a kid who will soon go sleep, and it will be a lot of noise because since we don't have questions in the Slack channel to discuss right now, I don't think we need to do MA. We already spent 2 hours on the meetup. I think that's enough for users. It's just hard to sit for 2 hours to listen, not only to talk. I want to thank once again for everyone who contributed to this meetup, for all our guests who presented today. It's always nice to see how other people see the products that you use, and also very good to hear the feedback. It doesn't matter good feedback or negative feedback. Really appreciate that. If you can create an issue, write an article or something like that, that's always helps to grow popularity of the product, grow community, and also to exchange opinions, thoughts, ideas. This is what I believe the open source community is for. Okay, so thank you very much again, and we please find us on any of the events that JJ mentioned, for example, next KubeCon or some European events. We also plan to participate in the European KubeCon in the next spring in London. So yeah, you have plenty of chances to find someone from VictoriaMetrics team and talk about GitHub issues that were not closed yet, which is always happen when someone finds us on the conference. Okay, anyway, thanks again, everyone, and I hope you have a good rest of the day, and thanks for coming. See you on the next meetup.